Hi, I'm Novel Mike, and this is my opinion. So, reviewing Sony's E3 is kind of weird to me because they really did not do a great job. This is not, I don't think, as bad as last year for me personally because they had some cool stuff, but they made some weird decisions. They first started off with Last of Us 2, which was great, but they decided to put everyone in this weird venue to showcase it, and then after the trailer, they decided to move everyone from that venue to another one, and then in the time between there, which was about 10 or 15 minutes, they just spent, and like, they showed a new Call of Duty trailer, but then they showed a bunch of old trailers for stuff they already announced, and I don't know what they were thinking with that, but that was a terrible decision, and it killed the momentum that the Last of Us trailer built. And I hope to God they never do something that stupid again because it was very concerning and it almost ruined the whole show for me. Thankfully, once they did get everyone in the theater, it really picked up. It was a much better conference. They showed a bunch of different games. All the games that they showed really well. Maybe not so much for Death Stranding because I don't think we got as much of a gameplay experience with that as I think a lot of us were hoping to finally get, but that game is still just really weird and intriguing, and I believe in Kojima, but I really think that they need to show a little bit more if they're going to keep people enticed in that any longer besides just these weird trailers, but that remains to be seen. They made some cool announcements. Resident Evil 2 Remake exists. Neo 2 is coming eventually. There's this new game by Remedy called Control. Looks very Alan Wake-ish or Quantum Break-ish, so that's cool. But overall, I just don't think they did that good of a job compared to what I think a lot of us were expecting them to do. They said beforehand they were going to do a deep dive on these 4 games, being Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, and Spider-Man. And I don't necessarily feel we got that, because most of the stuff felt like just normal gameplay trailers we would have gotten anyway. It didn't really feel like a deep dive into the mechanics, into understanding the stories of these games or anything like that. They were good trailers and the games looked amazing, but I don't think they capitalized on the promise that they originally said they were going to do. And because of that, and because of the early transition, I definitely can't rank this on par or above Microsoft. I'm going to say this is a solid 7. It was not terrible by any means. It started off really roughly, but overall it was good. It just wasn't great. And I think that the things that Sony does right, Microsoft is doing wrong, and the things that Microsoft did right, Sony was doing wrong. Microsoft had a ton of games, they just didn't have a lot of first-party stuff. Sony had a lot of first-party stuff, they just didn't have very many games. They only showed maybe like a dozen games overall compared to like the 50 Microsoft showed, even though a lot of them were in, a montage of indie stuff. Like, they still showed a bunch of stuff. There were still at least 20 games shown at Microsoft's conference compared to about a dozen at Sony's. So I think that hurt them a little bit. If you had taken out the weird transition, it was about an hour long. And I don't know why Sony's trying to make their conferences so short. I think that one thing that worked well for Microsoft and some of these other companies is making them long but filling that time well. I think Sony has more that they could show. They're just not right now. I don't know what's going on exactly with them, but I do hope in the future that they pick it up a little bit, because this was not anywhere near as exciting as I was hoping it was going to be. Thankfully, what they did show looked really good. Like, I'm sold on Ghost of Tsushima. I'm sold on Last of Us 2, not that I wasn't already. And Spider-Man looks absolutely great. It looks like you have the Sinister Six in that, so that should be really cool. But for me personally, I think that this could have been a lot better. And the breaking up of the venue switch and everything, where they just wasted 15 minutes just doing basically nothing, was a terrible decision. And I think that they took some heat for that. And hopefully they realize that they should not do something like that in the future, because I don't think it really added anything to their actual press conference. And for anyone who is watching at home, it's just like, oh, when is the show coming back? Why are they doing this? This is kind of stupid. Why am I wasting my time just waiting for them to move people? You can't at least show some announcements or something in the meantime? Like, come on. So, because of that, Sony gets a 7. Microsoft's definitely still leading this year. We'll see what Nintendo does. They're in just a few hours, so hopefully they bring it. But if not, Microsoft's going to have won E3. Never thought going into this I would have to say those words, but they brought it this year, so good for them. And Sony did okay too, and the games look great, but weird for those games, for a lot of them not to even be giving a release year. That is slightly concerning as well, which I didn't bring up before, but the only thing that has a release date is Spider-Man. Everything else, not even 2019, not even 2020. It's just no date. Just we're working on it. So anyway, I'm Novel Mike. That was my opinion, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.